In 1980, psychologists interrupted men watching TV in a dorm lounge and handed them a stranger's photograph. Same photo, same woman, same question. A friend's got a blind date lined up. Rate her looks. The men who'd been watching Charlie's Angels rated her lower than everyone else. Nothing about her had changed. So what exactly got into those men in the 90 seconds before they picked up a pen? The study was run by Douglas Kenrick and Sara Gutierrez at Arizona State. Their setup was almost rude in how simple it was. No lab, no wires, no cover story. An experimenter just knocked on dorm lounges where guys were parked in front of a television. He said a friend had a blind date coming up and wanted a second opinion on her photo. He'd hand over a picture of an average-looking woman, an ordinary face you'd walk past without comment. Rate her, he'd say. Then he'd write the number down and leave. The only thing that varied was what happened to be on the screen behind them. Some lounges had Charlie's Angels running, the show built around 3 impossibly polished stars. Other lounges had a different program on, or the television was off entirely. Every man saw the same photograph, same woman, same question, same pen, same beige carpet. And the men with the angels on rated her lower, consistently lower across the whole group. Not because they'd thought about it. Ask them, and they'd tell you the show had nothing to do with it. That's the first uncomfortable part. The men had no idea their answer had been moved at all. It felt like an opinion about her. It was actually a measurement of the room. The study was small, and we'll come back to what did and didn't survive later testing. But the thing it pointed at turned out to be one of the most reliable quirks in perception. Psychologists call it the contrast effect, and it's simpler and stranger than the name suggests. Your brain doesn't hold a fixed ruler for attractiveness, or for loud or bright or expensive or fast. It holds a running average of whatever it's seen lately, and it measures everything against that. You already know this happens. You've just never caught it in the act. Walk out of a 2-hour movie into a 4 o'clock parking lot and the daylight is violent. Same sun that was there when you walked in. Your eyes just spent 2 hours agreeing on a new normal. Or you tour a friend's renovated kitchen, come home, and your own kitchen looks slightly beige and sad. Nothing was touched while you were out. The comparison point moved, and your kitchen fell relative to it. Faces work the same way, which is the part nobody expects, because faces feel like facts, not opinions. She's pretty or she isn't. It doesn't feel like a number that slides. Here's where it flips. There's a lab demonstration that makes this almost physical. Researchers show you faces that have been digitally stretched, eyes pushed wide, features pulled apart. You stare at those distorted faces for a couple of minutes, then they show you a completely normal face. The normal face looks wrong, slightly squashed, pinched, in a way you can point to but can't undo. This is called a face after effect, and it's about as close as psychology gets to showing you the machinery. Your visual system builds a prototype, a kind of average face out of whatever it's been fed. Every new face gets described as a deviation from that prototype. Nose bigger than average, eyes closer than average. And the prototype isn't fixed. It drifts toward whatever you've been looking at within minutes. So the men in that lounge weren't lying about her. Their average had quietly moved underneath them. She wasn't below some standard. She was below whatever had been on television 10 minutes earlier. If that just reframes something for you, that's exactly what this channel is for. Stick around. Because the next question is the one that actually matters. How far does the drift reach? A rating of a stranger is cheap. You'll never meet her. Who cares? So Kenrick's group pushed on something more expensive, the people you already love. In a later study, men viewed images of highly attractive models, then were asked about their own partners. Afterward, they reported feeling somewhat less attracted to the person they'd walked in the door with. Same partner, same relationship, same everything, except the last 10 minutes of their eyes. And the drift doesn't stop at other people. That's the part that turns this personal. Another line of work looked at what happens to the way you rate yourself. People shown a run of very attractive same-sex faces then rated their own attractiveness lower, which is the loop closing on you. The comparison doesn't care which side of it you're standing on. Your face is just another face going into the same running average. Now the honest part, because this is where a lot of videos would keep sprinting. When researchers went back years later and tried to reproduce the partner result, it didn't come out clean. Some attempts found something faint, others found nothing at all with more people and better methods. That's not a scandal. That's what a small 40-year-old finding is supposed to go through. So hold the partner effect loosely. It may be real and small, or it may depend heavily on context. But notice which part of this nobody's fighting about, because it isn't the piece you'd expect. The perceptual part, the drifting prototype, the after effects, the sliding scale, replicates over and over. You can watch it happen in a controlled lab in about 90 seconds. The argument isn't whether your standard moves, it's how far it travels and how long it stays moved. And that question got a lot more urgent about a decade ago. Because Kenrick and Gutierrez had to build their experiment. They needed a dorm, a television, a fake blind date. You run it on yourself now, voluntarily, in bed, for free several times a day. Think about what a swipe app actually is once you strip the romance off it. It's a sequence of faces, one at a time, at speed, each one asking you for a judgment. That's not a coincidence of design. That's the exact structure of a contrast experiment. The 1980 study delivered one dose of glamour and one photo. Your thumb delivers hundreds in 10 minutes. And these faces are selected. Everyone is somebody's best photograph out of 200 attempts. Good light, right angle, a moment they liked. Nobody uploads the one where they're mid-blink at the DMV. So the average your brain is building isn't the average of people, it's the average of people's best frames. Then you close the app, look up, and meet an actual person in ordinary indoor lighting. And something's slightly off about them, and you can't name what, and it feels like information. It isn't information, it's the parking lot after the movie, and you're squinting at a person. And here's where it gets worse than anything Kenrick could have set up in 1980. Those men watched a show, it ended, and the drift decayed. The next day was full of ordinary faces. There's no next day now. The feed refills every time you're bored, which is roughly always. The prototype never gets to walk back. You live at the top of the scale and grade everything downhill, including yourself in the bathroom mirror at the end of a long night of scrolling. Which is why just have higher self-esteem is such useless advice against this particular thing. This isn't a belief you're holding. It's a calibration your eyes performed without asking your permission. You can't argue with an after effect, but you can do 3 things that actually move it. 1. Put ordinary, unedited faces back into the running average on purpose and give it real time. The drift is reversible, and it reverses on the same input that caused it, real faces, real light, no filter. 20 minutes in a grocery line looking at actual humans does more than an hour of affirmations. It's the least glamorous advice in psychology, and one of the few pieces with a mechanism behind it. 2. Don't make a judgment about a real person in the 10 minutes after you close the app. The after effect is strongest right after exposure and fades with time. Don't spend that window deciding anything. Text back later. Meet them Saturday. Let the ruler come back to room temperature. 3. Watch the sequence, not just the face in front of you. Order does most of the work here. Contrast needs things lined up back to back. Swiping forces that. Life left alone mostly doesn't. So when you catch yourself comparing, ask what came immediately before. Usually that's your verdict, right there. You still can't unsee it. That's the honest limit here. You'll still feel the dip when it comes. But there's a difference between feeling a judgment and trusting it, and that gap is the entire skill. Those men in 1980 thought they were describing a woman in a photograph. They were describing a television show that had already ended, in a room that had gone quiet. So next time someone seems like slightly less than you expected, check what you looked at last. Your standard isn't a standard. It's an average of your last 10 minutes, and you pick those minutes. If this reframes something for you, like and subscribe. Next up, why a name vanishes 2 seconds after you hear it. Go look at some real, ordinary, badly lit faces today. See you in the next one.